And we are live, Troy Francis, James Tusk, once again to discuss the wonderful world of dating in 2024 and what it truly takes to be truly successful as dating as a man in 2024. Is what I've sort of titled this, but really probably a continuation of the conversation from yesterday, because what you really need to be truly successful in dating as a man in 2024 is edge. And a lot of guys lack it, which is why we have come to the rescue on a white horse and put together a course called The Edge version 4, because this is the 4th iteration of this now. Condensed 6 to 8 week course where we're going to be taking you through all aspects of building up your masculinity and game, so that you become the kind of guy that women actually flock to, rather than being a kind of, you know, your third choice, basically. So there's also the opportunity to come on a boot camp with us in Bogotá, Colombia, in the middle of the course, okay, to put into practice everything that you've learned. And then we'll be doing a few weeks of, you know, sort of post boot camp assessment after, or going through, you know, the learnings and stuff afterwards online, okay? So it's an online course. You can join us live in Bogotá, Colombia, for the period of the boot camp, or you can do online only. It's up to you, but we do strongly recommend that you come out to Bogotá, because all of this stuff is about taking action. It's not about sitting at home really with your dick in your hands. Although, you know, if you want to just do online only, we've got, you know, this is running for 6 to 8 weeks. We're going to have a bunch of live webinars throughout the course with experts in all aspects of masculinity and game, and it's going to be a blast, isn't it?
Yes. So what to say about it? Well, guys watching the streams,
what's not to say about it?
Well, guys watching these streams typically don't do anything, which again, the point of watching us is to maybe see some content that you resonates with you and it forces you to get out of the house. If you can get out of the house, then consistently become a social animal, you know, bantering with people, having fun, being playful, flirting with the world, and then approaching 2 to 3 women a day. Great. You probably don't need our help. But if you're caught in the paradigm, which 99.9% of guys that watch the content on my old channel now have been deleted, obviously. Now Troy's channel, apparently, I'm the surrogate baby of Troy's channel for now. If you're like most men and you watch the content, you become a bit of it, because it's addictive. Let's be honest. I used to be like, I still am. I love reading. I love knowing new stuff. But the difference between knowledge and wisdom is the knowledge applied. Then it becomes wisdom, it's practical. But the problem is, and I do fall into this trap with all sorts of dark triad reading and dark psychology and game and stuff as well, it's very addictive to read stuff, and it's even more addictive because you don't have to force the uncomfortable feelings of taking action and facing women and facing rejection. Mark Manson did a great video, the writer of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, recently, about your life as a video game. And he said it's your ability to soak up failure that determines how far you go in life. It's that simple. Instead of avoiding it, you should be charging headlong into it. It works exactly the same with dating.
Was that into failure?
His video, we can link it below, is Life is a Video Game. It's a very new video he did, and he said your success is determined by 3 things. Applying in life, applying your character traits to the right quest that you decide, your ability to focus on said quest without distractions, and then your ability to hardcore soak up failure and just win and learn, win and learn constantly. And most men, because dating is a very personal, egoic, shattering male ego journey, they choose to avoid dating and avoid approaching because they don't want the uncomfortable feeling of being rejected. But the reality is that gives you feedback, and then you change and you adapt and you get better. And we all started out not pulling a muscle, and then it's like literally like a video game. We got better at we suddenly got over the approach anxiety. We're able to approach, but our conversations were shit. It's the same stage every client goes through. Then their conversations start getting a bit longer, but the girl's not turned on. Then we start getting them to add in spikes, like teasing her and bantering with her, and suddenly she's interested, she's attracted. Then they start getting numbers, but the numbers flakes because there's not enough investment. Then they start actually going on dates, but they realize, fuck, this is a new stage of the game. I don't know how to date at all. I've done the day game party for 10 minutes, but I'm still a fucking sexless flannel on the dates. And then they learn seduction on the dates. Escalation, non-verbal, but they become media off. They bang the girl and they lose the girls. And then we start teaching them how to actually manage relationships and maybe spin plates, right? So it's a video game that you just have to throw yourself into. Almost a bit more. I saw this on Another Energy, but it's a great thing. Great way of him phrasing it. He goes, look, it's not complicated. You see the jack guy in the gym. or the street. How did he get there? He just went to the gym without really thinking about it. His reason, his motivations were irrelevant. He took on a robot energy and just did the thing he needed to do. Guys love theorizing about all this bullshit and just avoiding what you need to do, which is go and speak to more women. That's it. And get better at that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So there might be some people who are sitting there thinking, well, if they're not familiar with our content and stuff, they might be thinking, well, does anybody speak to women nowadays? Why not just use the apps? And I guess, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that. The answer to that question, is, from my perspective, is the apps just don't seem to work very well for most guys, or certainly most guys.
The competition is so fierce now that you really have to be you know, almost a minor celebrity to get anywhere on the apps. I don't know anyone that consistently pulls very, very hot girls from apps.
I think, I mean, you hear about some places seem better than others. I mean, if you go to, like, you know, I don't know, whatever, like Latin America, I mean, if you know, I mean, there's going to be some places where maybe your market value is going to be a bit higher, but in general, for most guys sitting around in the West, I mean, if you just go on Tinder, or I mean, Tinder's, you know, just long dead as far as I'm concerned, but you go onto one of the apps. I mean,
they have the sugar app attachment.
Yeah, which is a good progress. But, you know,
why would you spend £100 a month on that, though, when you could just bang 5 girls from Seeking for that?
Well, there is that. But then the top tier for isn't the top tier for Seeking about the same as the 500 quid a month for Tinder? It's about the same, isn't it? But then you can just use the lower tier on Seeking anyway. So whatever works.
Yeah.
But I mean, I mean, the reality is, you know, like.
No, I think so. Just to jump on that point you made. I think there's been a bit of a renaissance with needing to understand cold approach, because now guys, they all fluttered online. They were like, oh, great, don't have to approach. Guys are now realizing, because we're getting a lot of emails going, fuck, the apps just don't work anymore, that the apps are flooded with every fucker. And as dominance hierarchies work, the top dogs who actually have a lot of value are getting all the women, inviting them to their yacht party, whatever. And most men are not getting laid from apps anymore. So there's a need for a renaissance of cold approach with you guys. And actually, the women I'm approaching in, say, you know, I've been in Ukraine for a couple of months, they're loving the fact that a lot of the feedback I'm getting when I always ask, how do you usually meet men? It's with, and I've spoken to just during text, they're like, I love the fact you approach me. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm so bored of guys hitting me up on Telegram, because on Telegram, remember, you can cold message, and on Instagram, you can message. I'm so bored of meeting men like this. Because look, energy exchange is the secrets of the universe, right? Tesla plus Einstein were right. You can't replicate meeting someone in the flesh for a couple of minutes and just getting a vibe for them, right?
Yes.
But you do cold approach. You can fluff it all around on the apps. All you want, you can video calls, video messages. It's not the fucking same. So by manning up on the front end and approaching out as a fucking, and B, you save a lot of time on the back end away. You get a vibe straight away for if the girl is, you know, if you turn into each other, and you can't replicate that. It really is the cheat code of all cheat codes, and it's a skill set you can get better at. It's a learnable skill. Robert Greene talks about it in Art of Seduction. Seduction is a game of psychology. If you understand how to tease, flirt, trigger attraction in a woman, it's absolutely a learned skill, right? You're still souping up the other areas that me and Troy and the other guys talk about, the hormones and the fashion and the fitness and getting your life sorted out. That's a slow burn in the background to build up your value as a man, because you've got a very long runway. But the direct attraction stuff is very learnable in a very short space of time, and it is a cheat code, because 99.9% of men don't have the balls to approach, and 99.9% of men who do approach don't know how to flirt and trigger attraction and understand how to actually understand that seduction is a game of psychology.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that. And I think the thing is as well, I mean, we've got a boot camp, right, in Bogotá. We do 4 days of very intense, you know, training. We'll be doing 4 to 5 hours per day, or basically being thrown into loads and loads of approaches and having to, you know, navigate all of that. And if there's some people, that's going to be a really, like, earth-shattering experience because they haven't necessarily done it before. For others, obviously, they've had some experience and they're kind of coming to refine their skill set. But in real life, that's an immersion period. But in real life, it doesn't have to be like that. It shouldn't be like that. This needs to be something that you have consistently with you, that you can turn on and off at will. So it's not about going to the shopping mall and spending, 5 hours in the shopping mall anymore. It's not about walking around at rainy streets and trying to, just chatting people up all day. I mean, that's low value. It's a waste of time. Unless you're in a training situation because you need to break the back of it, right? Which most guys do. Once you've got past that initial phase, this needs to be something that you can just see that cute girl. Sometimes you walk into a cafe, a cute girl is sitting there, she smiles at you, right? You get eye contact. Are you able to approach, even in a relatively easy kind of situation like that, and make things happen?
Most men can't, right? Even that. You can't even say hello.
Yeah, so a lot of times you'll get a guy who says something like, "Oh, I saw this girl earlier. She was really cute, and she kind of smiled at me. She was looking at me, but I just didn't know what to do. I just bottled it, right?" So those are really the situations. The cold approach, practice training, is slightly artificial in a way, but you need to go. The obstacle is the way, right? You need to go through the hard yards of that, so that in sort of more amenable situations, you're able to take action. Because even and I was like this myself years ago, before I learned all this stuff. I mean, even when it's kind of being handed to you on a plate, guys are not able to take action because they don't really know. They feel like it's too high risk, or they don't know what to do, or they don't know what to say. Okay, so what we want to do is give you like altitude style training in an almost tougher environment than it is in real life, so that you can go out and yes, create new opportunities for you. You see a really cute girl. And we always, you see that really cute girl, and we'll always regret it, won't we? We think, oh God, if only I could have said something to her or whatever. Or even worse, you see a girl who actually, smiles at you, who actually looks at you and gives you, prolonged eye contact or something. And then guys aren't even approaching her. And it's like, fuck, man, just think of those wasted opportunities.
I know. I completely agree. Which do you regret more out of interest? Seeing that cute girl walk past you don't say hello to, or seeing that line of pure Chang on the table you don't snort because you've got to get a plane?
Both
are
it looks like we're in the same room now. If I had this thing.
Yes, it actually looks a bit like my old flat in Bermondsey Street,
nice.
Which I didn't have a grand piano, but it was kind of similar layout to this.
Yeah. I regret
but
both really.
The point I was going to jump on the top of with that was life is a mind game. That's all it is, right? Goggins did a few good videos. He's talking about it's you versus you. I disagree. I don't think it's combative. I just think you've got different voices in your head that want different things. Often the voice of saying don't have emotions. You've got to be able to lean into this and see it as what I like about cold approach is seeing it as an attempt to master yourself, really. Right, it's emotional mastery because you're always going to feel resistance to that hot girl or that group of women, and you've got to take the fucking action. But it's just feelings. That's all it is. That's the only thing stopping you or most men from achieving what they want to, not just in dating but in life. It's uncomfortable. When you really realize it's just uncomfortable feelings that get in your way, it's actually, you kind of trivialize it and you just think, well, again, make values-based decisions. Who's the man you want to become? Okay, you want to become the archetype seducer man in one setting, right? We should also have different archetypes we live by. One of those archetypes every man should strive to be, in my opinion, is a seducer, an influencer, a persuader, because life is a game of seduction and influence and persuasion, whether it's the girl on the street or in the coffee shop, or whether you're trying to get a new investor for your business, or whether you're trying to persuade your mum you don't have to go to your cousin's wedding. It's not that important to fly back from Colombia. It doesn't matter. It's understanding psychology and influence if you're not used to doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where the big sort of misunderstanding comes into play, doesn't it? Because yes, you need to build the value, and guys are always going on about money or looks or status, and I need to have a 12-pack and all that. And yes, all of those things are definitely undeniably help. But if you've got those things in place, but you don't have the understanding of the psychology or the understanding of how to implement it in a real world situation, then you're still fucked. Because we've met guys, like we were saying yesterday, we've met guys who are really good looking, really, really good looking guys, like model tier, like good looking guys. who suck at this stuff. We've met like billionaires. We've met like people who run like multinational businesses, you know, turning over millions and millions of dollars, and they still suck. So all of the pretty lies that society sold you about, yeah, just become this guy, are also bollocks. Or, you know, you end up getting some kind of, you know, they do meet some women, but they're kind of low value, or they've got kind of gold diggery, or it's all very unsatisfactory and transactional, right? So even for the guy, so you've got to, it's a doubly pronged thing, because you've got to make it in the real world to the greatest degree that you can, and that's an ongoing journey. And then you've also got, but most importantly, but also you have to understand and implement the psychology as well.
Yes, agreed. I'm going to switch just quickly to my phone data because this is a bit shoddy. So give me 2 secs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, guys. So any other questions, put them into the chat. We've got 61 people watching now. Some of you guys are going to be on Twitter probably. If you want to give us a question, then come over to YouTube, okay? Subscribe to my YouTube channel, but come over to YouTube and post in the chat, because if you write a question or a comment on Twitter, we're not going to be able to see it, okay? So you got to come over to YouTube. Daniel Victor was asking about coaching. Yeah, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we can discuss. And do you guys know Baxter? Yeah, I know Baxter. He is based in London, works with Mystery. I know him. I don't know him incredibly well, but I do know him. I've met him a few times.
London's best cobbler. Oh, I'm going to shine your show. I mean, there's a brilliant interview in recent times you pointed out to me of him, Tolo Ramassi, the godfather, the fodfather of game, and Sartain. It was just hilarious. You saw Sartain and Tomassi kind of sitting there looking a bit skeptical, and Bex was doing all this kind of old school mystery method kind of style. It was just an interesting watch.
Was Mystery on there as well, though?
So Mystery was on there, yeah.
Was it live, or were they on Zoom?
You sent it to me, I think.
I need to. I
don't know what they were doing, but it was all a bit weird.
Yeah, I think he's buffering again. But I mean, yeah,
this bloody internet, these Russians. I am here, but yeah. God, the reason it's buffering.
Is it better if you turn the video off?
If I turn it off, I can do.
Let's try. Maybe just audio is better. So Tusk is there in the house, but he's in Ukraine basically, which is why his internet is pretty shitty. What were we going to say? Yeah, I mean, you know, so yeah, we know Baxter. I mean, he's like, there's a sort of remnant of very, very old school guys who are still around and who sort of do game like it's 2004, and it's just not really up to scratch, is it? It doesn't really work in 2024. You know, they're stuck in a kind of 20-year-old paradigm of nonsense, really. I don't
Agreed.
I mean, it's just sort of like, I mean, the thing with Baxter specifically, I mean, nice enough guy, right? You know, I've got no issues with him, but I mean, he's really into canned lines. He's really into learning scripts, which is an incredibly old school thing. And just seems to me, firstly, my short and long-term memory is completely screwed, so I would never be able to do that anyway. But secondly, it just seems an incredibly artificial and inauthentic way of approaching, you know, human interactions, right? And you know, but they're still preaching this 20 years later.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, they just haven't really realized that or they just don't want to. You've got to level up the other areas, right? You've actually got to become a high value dude as well as have game. And I think that's where a lot of the old school guys got stuck, seemingly, without naming names.
Yeah, so, you know, you got this kind of old school. And by the way, I mean, it always annoys me a little bit when people use all the old gamey language and stuff. Like I had somebody in the comment section on the channel the other day writing, you know, sort of asking, you know, about just using like terms like HB, you know, HB1, or is she an English HB, you know, meaning hot one or whatever, you know, is she an HB10, is she an HB7 and stuff like this. And it's like guys are using this language, this lingo, that's 20 years old, you know, from some weird like subculture. And it's just like, I personally hate all of the old gamey language these days, you know, like neg hit. Hey, how are you guys neg hits doing? You know, and all that shit. I mean, it's just bollocks, man. I mean, what we're talking about is the most natural thing in the world, really, which is to go up to somebody that you're attracted to and start a fucking conversation with them. We don't need all of this weird, like, sort of PUA language or anything.
I agree completely. I think it's it makes the whole thing weird, right? It's almost, we want to get back to normalizing this stuff. Look, high value, you know, men, we're just hairless apes, should be able to interact with women and should have most women you meet should be attracted to you. That's something I read from one of the old school, the guy ripped off mystery, Nick Savoy, Love Systems. I remember reading one of the canned line books, like PDFs, but one of the things I didn't bother with the canned line stuff because I'm same as you. I was just, you know, torpedoed many a conversation trying to be clever with the cube and strawberry fields and all this bullshit. Yeah, and it comes off as inauthentic. But one of the key things on the first page was most women you meet should be attracted to you. Now that's going to fuck with most guys' heads. But what about the girl being in a relationship? Doesn't matter. Attraction's not a choice. You should be able to make most women you speak to attracted to you in some format, or they should be attracted to your presence. That's most guys. That's reality blown, isn't it? But that's a reality. That's an attractive man, right? 70% of the time, 80% of the time, most women find you attractive. Right? So are you an attractive man or not? Because most people will see you as an attractive man visible or an unattractive man invisible. And it really is black and white like that, in my opinion.
So even you're interacting with these women, and even if they don't take any action on it, they find you on some level attractive, right? That's the kind of
you can tell because they're brushing their hair, they're preening themselves, they're kind of a bit nervous around you, they got their nervous energy. You should, when you walk in a room, a dude should have that presence, right? That sexual alpha presence, and most women should respond on a visceral level, right? They kind of start moving around a bit, they're kind of giggling, they might be nudging their friends, or like they're clearly eyes dilate, or they're brushing their hair. There's some attractiveness you're putting out as an energetic human being, and that starts with actually having to seeing yourself as an attractive prospect, right? And that's where the working on the inner game stuff comes in. That's a big focus of what we do in the Edge, because life's a mirror, not a window. So if you don't rate yourself, the world doesn't rate you. Right? You've talked about it before, but you've got to be, you know, you're like, I remember it was a good video, I can't remember what it's for, but you're like, fuck all this hero worship for these other men. You should be the fucking hero of your story, right? And it's true. You're the dominant force. Everyone listening to this, you are the dominant force in your reality. You are the god in your reality, right? If you're hero worshipping men and women over you, you fucking lost the plot. Gene Simmons said it. He goes, life is, the guitarist who slept with, Kiss singer who slept with like 10,000 women, he goes, life is way too, one of his best quotes, life is way too short not to have completely delusional notions about yourself. And that was used in a book by a guy called Swing Cat on Inner Game. But it's a great thing to remember. You can Google it. It's true. You should be the fucking hero of your own story. You should be delusional. You should be delusionally on your side. You should look at yourself as a fucking boss. Right. And you've got to line that up with actually taking the action to create this character where you're not just doing the affirmations and believing this, you're backing it up on a deeper level. Your subconscious sees it being backed up by the actions you take, the women you sleep, the adversity you run into, you know, the interesting reality you live. We have one shot at this game, 1 in 400 trillion. Why the fuck are people sitting there with their dicks in their hands going, oh, it's game over at 19, listening to this black pill? It's fucking bollocks, lads. And I hope Black Pill is watching, and I agree a bit to be like, you know what, he's right. I hate to admit it because I like to praise these ginger weirdos, Mind Waffle Mensch on YouTube as my black god, but really, he's right.
Well, I think a lot of the Black Pill guys, you can tell that they're very young. They probably live in some shitty small town somewhere, and they're just pretty naive, right? They haven't got out of the house very much. You can just tell by the way that they write and the way they, you know, the way that they talk about things, the way that they see the world. You know, it's incredibly naive, actually. And I think a lot of them, as they get older, even if they don't end up being particularly successful in, you know, dating relationships themselves, I think they will acknowledge, if they get out of the house and see a little bit more of life, that actually they were wrong. Because, you know, to put everything down to looks, I mean, it's just fucking, it's just an absolute nonsense. I mean, you only have to walk out the fucking house, you know, to see couples, you know, people get together. Right? It's not fucking impossible. it's very, very difficult for certain types of guy. I think there's a certain type of guy that's really getting shafted in the current marketplace, and it's not necessarily the guy who's unattractive looking. It's not necessarily the guy who has no money. It's guys with a certain kind of mindset, and we get a lot of very is it left brain or right brain? You know, the super analytical kind of guys, you know, the engineers, the coders, all those that kind of. We get a lot of those kind of guys.
Yes,
they are completely screwed in today's marketplace, and some of them are good looking, some of them are in decent shape, some of them, you know, have got, you know, they've got a good job or they're fucking rich, and they're still fucking screwed because they just don't know how to be an attractive man. Basically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we teach you on the edge: how to go from flannel to fuckboy. That's literally the dramatic changes to reality, but you have to do something. You can't think your way to a new reality. You have to take action, and your reality changes. Right? Physical action changes your environment.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of questions here. Should we run through them?
How to relieve the pain of regretting approaching a girl I like.
Well, approach 100 more, and you're not going to have fucking monkeys about that one. That would be the best thing I could.
I think that's a troll question, actually. I think that's a troll question, actually, because we always say you'll never regret approaching, and the reality is you won't. Like, what's to regret? Like, unless you call the police and you got banged up in, you know, Wormwood Scrubs for a 12 stretch. I mean, there's not a great deal to regret, is there? I mean, what's the fucking problem? Just forget about it.
It's approaching more. 90% of approach problems can be solved by just approaching more women.
It doesn't matter. It just like what was the downside? You know, unless a brother came and like fucking chop your arm off or something. I mean, you probably haven't suffered any huge downside. So just forget about it and move on. Like, you know.
It's like going in cold approach, like going into a casino and finding like one of those old school, like with the arms, because that you pull down the fruit machines, right? It's like finding one of those with a broken coin slot, so you don't have to pay any money, and you get occasional payouts. That's what cold approach is. There is nothing you need to do other than walk out the house and walk to a busy area and start talking to hot women. It's free, right? If you want to level up, pay us money, but if you want to do it yourself and take the video game on yourself, it's free entry. That's fucking awesome. Why are guys seeing it as negative? It's amazing that that's the thing. You can get on a plane anywhere in the world and be in a place where you find women extremely hot and start talking to them for free because they're not locked away in the VIP of a club. That's fucking awesome, right? And then no cost to that, and occasionally you bang some of them. That's fucking incredible. How are people not more excited about cold approach as a prospect? I love it. I love it because it gives you it's a window into a cheat code that's probably not going to exist forever, because they're talking about in the UK making it illegal to speak to people without their permission, which is definitely going to kill the sexual attraction, right, in cold approach. But it's an awesome opportunity for men, and you've got to get out of this victim mindset.
Yes, indeed. There's something special about Eastern. Well, so he was talking about Riga. I personally. Hi, Troy and James. Have you guys visited Riga, Latvia? Currently here, interesting place as compared to Poland. I have been, and I didn't think all that much of it, to be honest. It's quite a small city, quite cold. There wasn't a great deal going on.
Overrated. The Baltics, those Baltics, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, are completely overrated. I
mean, there are very attractive women. I've met some incredibly hot Latvian women in London, actually. So yeah, I mean, you know, the quality of the women is very good, but I didn't rate the place at all.
No, drab, dreary. Lithuania is hard to get laid. Very cold people. They don't really trust foreigners. Estonia is a bit of a gem, but only for a few days, because you've got a mix of Finns, Ukrainians, and Estonians.
Even then, I've been to Tallinn a couple of times, and I went one time. It was in June. I went to this music festival with a friend of mine who lived there, and it was fucking freezing. And it's just like, and there wasn't really. I didn't see like loads of attractive girls there or anything really, like people were saying online, and it's also a very small place as well, isn't it? So it kind of, I don't know, I'm not a massive fan, but I guess, you know, experiences made different. I agree. There's something special about Eastern and Central Europe. Life is so much better than the Western world. Yeah, absolutely.
So he's based in Europe, is he?
Sorry?
So Chris Smith is based in Eastern and Central Europe, is he?
He's in, I don't know, he's currently in Riga.
He's in Riga.
Yeah, he's
Poland's
in Riga.
The heaven on earth. I disagree, Chris Smith. I think Poland is overrun with people
PUA, he's going to say. Yeah, I think he's lost connection, I think.
Back and back.
Okay. Yeah, so you're disagreeing about Poland then?
I think it's okay. It's better than, say, London. Actually, is it? Would you rate Warsaw over London these days?
I still think it's somewhat better, yeah. I still think it's somewhat more receptive. But, I mean, there again, like you say, you've got so many... It's definitely harder there. It's definitely getting harder there, for sure.
It's been overrun with chumps, and it's not the easy place it used to be. And it's just a bit boring. I just find it a bit boring, to be honest.
Well, you kind of reached the end of the love affair last time, didn't you? When we were there?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going back unless I'm going to go and inject ketamine into my veins. That's not a Chandler from Friends parody. That is actually ketamine therapy I get done in Poland.
Indeed. So he lives in Paris, but he's kindly moving around. Are you still going to Moscow? Well, no plans. And James is in Ukraine at the moment. I don't know whether have you got any plans for Russia in the next year?
Next year, I'm going to do the surrounding satellite states and Mother Russia. I'm going to spend a lot of time there. But this year, just Ukraine.
Okay, so I was in Poznan. It was special. I've not actually. Have I been to Poznan? That's where Rouge lived, wasn't it? Poznan.
Really?
Yeah. So how does James safely? Because Tom Torero told me he went to Poznan, and which is a relatively third tier city or fourth tier city or something in Poland, and got off the train, and some bloke in a lumberjack shirt with a Rouge Star beard approached him. Was like, "Hey, you Tom Torero?" Some American douche, who kind of so Rouge unwittingly sort of put it on the map for a bunch of American fanboys for a bit,
no.
which completely ruined the place. So Clip says, how does James safely get in and out of Ukraine? Well, he hasn't got out safely yet, so we don't. We that's sort of.
The easiest way to get to Odessa, or where I'm at, Dnipro, would be to fly into Chisinau, capital of Moldova, and then you get a 4-hour shuttle bus into Odessa. Very easy. Or you can come via Poland. So you just go to, you get the train from Warsaw or Krakow or bus into Lviv or Kiev. Very, very easy. We're allied with them, everyone in the Anglosphere. So there's no issue just walking in visa free for 90 days as a tourist.
Yeah, cool. Daniel Victor said he's put these in order. So he says game of importance. He says number 1 game, number 2 money, number 3 status, number 4 looks. Do you agree? I think. Well, I guess I agree with number 1 overwhelmingly, because what game is the sort of umbrella term for understanding the psychology, which we've been talking about. And I think without that, you are pretty screwed, even if you've got the other 3 things. Although status sort of overrides everything in the end, doesn't it? Because but then you get status, but then you don't know what you're doing, and you get fucked over. So you become Johnny Depp, or you become, I don't know, any other of these celebrities who fucked over. So I think an understanding, if we take game to be the umbrella term that basically means an acute psychological and practiced awareness of psychological and social, the underlying psychological and social code that runs everything, then yes, I think game is the most important. As for the others, I don't really. I mean, I'm not sure really. Maybe that's about right. I don't know. What do you think, Dan?
They're all kind of together. That's the problem. Like, looks are definitely lower down the rankings, but they all kind of go hand in hand. Like, I think guys get obsessed with trying to fix one of these things and focus on just one thing. Why not just level them all up? Because life is a game, right? You treat your life like a video game, just level it all up. You should have financial freedom in this day and age by a certain age, I think, because there's so many opportunities out there, right? And to leverage stuff online and just live wherever you want. I don't, and it's up to you whether you want to aim for millions or whatever, or hundreds of thousands, but you should be able to live a life where you can pretty much just do what you want most of the time. And then you've mastered the money game, right? You just delegate that stuff, and then you move on to the other games, right? The status game. But you can opt out the status game. You can play the kind of Sigma role, which I guess I love people, but I guess my lifestyle is more Sigma. I travel around. I'll use cold approach to hit on hot girls and break through I won't have to involve myself in social hierarchies necessarily.
Yeah.
because I can cold approach women. So you kind of it's the cheat code to avoid all that bullshit.
Yeah, because you don't have to go to a city and make friends with people and get invited to some event and all this kind of bollocks, you know.
No, I can just get on girls. Yeah, that's it. You can,
which is kind of like going to the source. It's going to the source, isn't it? Because guys will think, oh, I want to move to, you know, say Paris, you know, right? Oh, I want to move to Paris. There's loads of hot girls in Paris. All right, so I'm going to go there and I'm going to have to make friends through my companies and with all these people, and maybe I'll go to this party and maybe, you know, blah blah blah. And actually, you're just putting loads and loads of steps in the way of the very basic thing, which is going up to a woman that you find attractive and talking to her. And I think guys do it almost as a buffer, right? Or it's almost intentional. It's like, right, I'm going to make this whole thing as complicated as possible. Like guys will do anything to get out of the fundamental. The only thing that's really going to turn the dial is walking up to a woman that you find attractive and paying her a compliment and seeing how she reacts, and then taking a conversation from there. Right? That's and it's such a simple thing to do, and it's so low risk in the big scheme of things. But guys will do anything to avoid taking that very simple action.
And you need to do that as well, because even if you go the Sartain route, the social circle climbing, if you don't know how to interact and flirt with women and have that kind of amused mastery and playfulness and able to sexualize, you're not going to fucking bang any of these hot girls anyway that you meet.
Yeah, well, we've got people in our in our network who are sort of, you know, they've made money and they've got some status sort of in regards to that, and they can go to sort of quite fancy events and things like that. But it seems like the interactions they have, I'm thinking of someone in particular here, James. I think the interactions they have, they seem a bit transactional. They seem to become almost targets for girls who basically, you know, gold digger type women. Now, there's a place for sugar dating, but don't make no mistake about that. But it's like if you're going out there as this naive rabbit in the headlights and just getting kind of used by the vultures, then that's not where you want to be as a guy.
No, and I know who you mean as well, and I agree with you. It's I'd almost say guys with money who really don't understand this stuff, they've got way more of a target on their back than an average dude. Because women aren't stupid; they are going to go towards resources, and they absolutely fucking run rings round. There's a couple of guys we know from the edge, and women are just running rings around them, and these guys are fucking clueless. And they're just what a shit show, really, what a shit show. So if you need to learn this stuff even more, or do not lead with money. And the problem is with a lot of these chumps is they lead with money. So, and they don't have game. So they're really setting themselves up for problems.
Yeah. So Eclipse,
just on that point, emotional strength is one of we go back to the attraction factors that probably slots under game and social dynamics and influence and understanding how things work. But emotional resilience, right? This idea of being unfuckwithable, nothing anyone can say or do touches you, and you understand this stuff, and you can't be affected emotionally by women. That is an extremely attractive trait, you know, because that is essentially saying most of these men lack emotional resilience, right? They're not psychologically strong men, and they get walked on. And women need to know that she can't push you over. You know, because it's representative. Women are evolutionary purists, right? All their behaviors unconsciously driven by evolutionary tests of value in men. So if she can push you around as a small 100-pound woman who is obviously not more physically dominant than you, but if she's more psychologically dominant than the man, she's going to fucking take the piss out of that man to the nth degree. She's going to fucking bang his mates behind his back. Women are ruthless. They will absolutely take you to the cleaners because it's evolution. That you can't. She has to be with a guy that's going to protect her. She has to think, right, if this marauding tribe of barbarians came in, or this woman, and she runs rings around you and is psychologically dominant over you, which most men suffer because they don't understand game. The woman will fuck you over, absolutely fuck you over. And I've been through it when I didn't understand this stuff. We see loads of clients going through it. They're totally clueless, totally fucking clueless, right? And they lack emotional resilience.
Yeah. Chris Smith says, "Oh, actually, so Japan. You've been to Japan, haven't you?"
Yeah,
I've heard mixed things about it personally, but
yeah. I mean, I approached a few Japanese girls. They kind of ran away. And I was there when, you know, it was the Rugby World Cup. So there's lots of tourists. So I met some tourists and had some fun with them. But Japanese girls, pretty weird and introverted, to be honest. I know you can bang them fast if they're into you, but not really my cup of tea. I think Thai lady boys.
Well, I've heard mixed things about Japan. often what you just said, James, but also equally, I've heard people say, "Oh, it's great," and I've had this amazing kind of dating life over there or whatever. But I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like a particularly easy mode place from what I've heard.
Fascinating place to go, though. Highly recommend checking it out. It's a very interesting place to be. Like fascinating.
Well, our friend Mr. MLD would always say that actually, and I don't know if you know whether you agree or not, but he would say, well, actually, it's one of those places where, as a foreigner, you don't really have that much status, you know, because what she's really looking for is a high-value guy who's Japanese. She's not really looking for some foreigner.
Yeah, I mean, I was interacting with locals, and actually they're quite fascinated by me because I was charging around singing drunken karaoke with them, and I got a good reception. So I don't necessarily think we'd be viewed as lower status in the sense you wouldn't be able to date Japanese women, but I think you'd have to get used to the nuances of it for sure. But it's just a fascinating place. I spent 6 weeks there, and it's an awesome place to visit if you just forget about women, really. Or hit on tourists, you know, and just enjoy the place for what it is. It's a very, very interesting place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I've actually dated a Japanese girl for a while, although that was in Berlin and London. So that's my own experience of it, really. But you know, obviously you've got somebody who's abroad, it's a kind of different kind of fish. And she
South Korea. I'd like to go to Seoul. Been on my list for a long time.
South Korea. I mean, in South Korean women, I would say, are very attractive. Actually,
they are. They're hot as fuck, and even the fucking J-pop stars, K-pop stars, I'll probably bang them because they look so feminine.
What about Mr. Silk?
They're hot the most English women for me. English women.
What about Mr. Silk?
Oh, my mystery box of tricks. He's in Gdynia, isn't he? On his cruise ship, so. We shall see. But he's also, I think, Chinese ethnically. Yeah.
All right. So Richie Rich says, you mentioned being financially free and how easy it is, but that's not true. Is it? Dating coaches are in an unusually privileged position where they charge obscene fees for coaching. Rest not so lucky.
That's up to you.
I mean,
why are you doing a job? Why is he doing a job where he can't make, it's not financially free?
Well, I mean, look, the other thing on that point is that we know a lot of guys who are traveling around and doing the same thing that basically James is doing, and I've been doing for the last few years, and they're not dating coaches at all. They do different things. So it's not true to say, it's not just dating coaches who are in this unusual position. I mean, there's a lot of jobs that you can do remotely. Actually, most jobs you can do semi-remotely these days. I mean, and then you can get an online sale. Like, even if you don't want to work for yourself, you could get like an online sales position.
Yeah, you're a dinosaur, Richie Rich. If you haven't figured out, most people now are remote.
Yeah.
And someone's come and save your ass, sort out your own job situation. And it's not easy being a dating coach. You have to spend thousands of hours filming content, uploading it. You get a lot of abuse online. There's no guaranteed income. There's nothing good about this job. Me and Troy do it because we actually enjoy it, and it's the hero's journey that we're still on, and we just enjoy helping people and giving back. That's why we chose to do this, but it's no free lunch by any means.
No, absolutely not. Colombian women or Argentinian women?
They're both hot. I mean, I'd obviously do both. If you could do a Latin America tour, the place I'd recommend would be Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, and Mexico. They're hot for different reasons. Colombian women probably slightly less attractive, way more sexual. A huge number of young women in Colombia have OnlyFans. They're just very promiscuous and just it's a fun place to be, Colombia. Argentina, more reserved, more European, but very hot. More Italian looking, lots of brunettes. Very, very good looking in their own right. The hottest Argentinian women probably surpass the hottest Colombian. But the top of the tree for me are Brazilians and Venezuelans. I think they take the biscuit. But you get attractive women wherever you go. I hope that you get over there. And I hope you haven't been planning a South America trip for years and you haven't done it, because it's simply just get on a plane and go. And join us. We're going to be there as part of the Edge. Mid-October, 16th to 20th of October. Get in touch. 2797 4 days coaching. 20 hours infill coaching, 3 months follow-up, included with the Edge course, 8 weeks, where you get all these amazing speakers talking you through the linchpins of what we do, and me and Troy, a gamified accountability approach coaches giving you tasks to do to get you social over 8 weeks. It really is like everything we know can boil down into like the simplest elements and all practical and applicable. So it will change your paradigm. What's the best nicotine for gaming? Well, I can show you when I turn on a bit of snuff.
You've got the secret hack now, haven't you?
I have, apart from it gives you nose cancer, but so does the white coffee. I'm going to whip it out 1 second. Where is it?
This is the ultimate.
They've. Oh, hold on. My hooker has arrived. Hello. Thank you. So, Mr. Rich. Here we go. Richie Rich's. I've triggered Richie Rich. Good. He's come back with something. But first, we'll address Lao Tzu.
Oh, the nicotine. The nicotine.
That's you thinking. This they've shamelessly ripped off. Oh God, it's disappearing into the ether.
Is that a Ukrainian one?
No, it's Red Bull.
Oh right, okay.
Shameless product placement. But this, for me, is the best form of getting nicotine. You load a little bit onto the old hand. Hold on, let me get rid of the background so you can see what's going on. Virtual background, none. Blur. Okay, so you put a little bit on the old paw like this. There she blows. And then that's your hit of nicotine. Works quite well.
Well, you introduced me to this when you were over in London last time, and I
you kicked the habit. I can't believe you managed to kick that habit.
Well, in recovery, they say it's giving up isn't the hard part; it's staying stopped that's the hard part. But I have, for the moment, I have stopped both smoking and snuff. I'm not doing any nicotine at the moment at all. But I mean, snuff was a pretty good substitute, and I was using it for a few weeks. And but it's kind of funny because in the Alan Carr book, he sort of like. Alan Carr kind of like really takes the piss out of snuff. He's like, there's even a few fucking weirdos who still use this old thing called snuff. Can you believe it? So I was like, oh, it's actually, so it's kind of a retro thing, but it was quite fun. It's quite a fun thing to use.
I quite like it. I think if that's the only thing you're doing is a vice, I think that's the least of our worries. A bit of snuff now and again.
Well, yeah. I just, for me personally, I got off the cigs and then I was doing the snuff for a little bit. It's kind of, I don't know, man. I was just like, oh, actually, do I really need to be doing this? So I just stopped using it. But we'll see. Like I say, I mean, the problem with nicotine is it's a very, even though it's the worst drug, the shittest drug in the world, really, because it doesn't really get you high. It's also very moreish. So we'll see.
Well, it's a great working tool. You know, a lot of people will use it for focus because actually nicotine, forget all the other bollocks. If you can, so you can even buy nicotine tablets, right, and chew them, not nicotine gum, nicotine tablets. And it's a very pure form of release of stimulant energy with very little drop off. So it's actually a great way to allow you to focus.
To be honest, though, what I found is that it actually would make me quite anxious. Like, because I have a bit of a problem with that. Like all of these, any substances, right? I've got to watch how it affects me in terms of anxiety. And what I would find is I'd have a cigarette, and everyone's, the idea is that cigarettes are meant to be soothing and it's meant to be, chill you out and everything. And I would have a cigarette and actually feel more anxious after the cigarette. I think it's because it probably raises your, your heart rate or whatever. But and also made me feel actually quite ill after I'd smoked a few of them. So in the end, you get to a point, you're just like, fuck it, why the fuck am I doing this?
Cigarettes are probably the most pointless ones. I've been hitting the shisha here, or Kalyan as they call it, because there's a big Turkish influence. So most Ukrainian cities are obsessed with shisha, and that's the equivalent of smoking 100 cigarettes in one go. A shisha session, which is terrible.
Yeah,
and I like it at the time, but afterwards I feel anxious, kind of heart racing, because it's a lot of nicotine you're taking in, right? So I've had to kind of curtail that. I wonder, as you get older, do you get more sensitive to things? Because the old me back in the day would just hammer down substances, drinks under the sun, and just spring back out of bed and be fine. This version of me seems to be more sensitive to drugs in general. Well, I find them.
I don't. Maybe you do, because I mean, I remember back in the day, I used to smoke before I gave up properly. Because basically, my history, I smoked for a few years, then I gave up for a long period of time, like 15 to 18 years or something like that. Then stupidly last year, I just picked it up again for a bit, and then I've been on and off a little bit over the last 6 months. But yeah, I mean, this time around, I have to say, back in the day, I was just smoking like a chimney, and it didn't seem to affect me really. This time, I've noticed actually the nicotine. Maybe it's because I'm not drinking, so that means that I can kind of notice it more, separate to alcohol. But it doesn't make me feel good, you know. Maybe the first one in the day is quite nice, but it doesn't. It like I was doing it in Miami last year, right? And I go for a coffee, and I buy a packet of cigarettes, and I'd sit outside the cafe, drinking the coffee, and smoke and chain smoke a few cigarettes, and it would completely do the opposite. It would completely make me like it would put me into this daisy state. I didn't feel motivated. I felt fucking tired. I just sit there like with my dick in my hand. So it actually did the opposite of what's advertised on the tin.
It's fascinating how we do these things and then don't really link them to how we feel. So for years, that was me with alcohol. Only recently have I really realized, right, have a few drinks, can't do anything afterwards of productive, feel shit, and typically eat shit food or do something stupid. And that's only after after drinking from quite heavily from the age of 15. I'm now 37. It took me 22 years to make that real connection and be like, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. So I haven't really drunk in a few months, and I'll occasionally, if I go on a date with a girl, I have one drink, but apart from that, I don't drink because the next day I've got the anxiety, feel anxious. I always make stupid decisions because alcohol is a great drug to do everything stupid after a drink. But it's so interesting how it takes us so long to make this connection. And I wonder why that is, because if you took I always say this analogy, maybe you've got a better one, but if you ate a piece of fruit and it made you feel like you have a hangover, you would just never go near that again.
Yeah.
And yet things like alcohol, it's almost like we don't comprehend or we're so unconscious to it. And I wonder why that is. I don't know. Maybe you have some thoughts on that.
Well, I think it's because we become sort of addicted to it. And so the denial goes up and we trick ourselves, right? Or because we really want the thing, right? We really want the alcohol, we really want the nicotine, we really want the.
But why though? If it makes you feel worse than
because the addiction, the desire for it is stronger than the fact of the consequences. So we separate the two out. Sorry, like it's not because it's not a logical thing. It's not a logical thing. It's like it's not emotional either, is it? Maybe it's a bit emotional, but it's sort of. I guess it's sort of like neurological or physical, partly physical or neurological, where we've got this craving for the thing that's intense enough that even though we know logically the consequences, we're able to separate them out in our mind and push them aside and just do the thing anyway.
Well, and also there's this therapy I've been doing recently, which is really interesting, called Internal Family Systems. There's a book called No Bad Parts, but essentially the premise is you have different parts for you that want different things. You're like the captain on the ship that isn't the parts, right? And you decide which to listen to, but they're all on your side. But the part that would say grab the drink or grab the line of Chang, that's the very instant gratification part of you, because it doesn't think about the parts. Whereas you've got the other part that knows you're going to feel shit, right? So it's almost the process of this type of therapy. You call in these different parts in the moment before you do the thing, and you kind of weigh it up. And it's the same with, say, sugary foods or smoking the cigarette. It's like that part absolutely wants it because it gives you the instant gratification, but it doesn't know about the jobs of the other parts. So there's another part going, no, obviously that's a terrible idea. And it's your job to listen to all of them and then make a decision. If you can do that, it's helped me a lot, actually. I was good the other day. I just had this, one of the clients came to see me. Jay gave me a bottle of Lagavulin 16, one of my favorite whiskies. And it was a Monday night, and I was just like, you know what? It was sitting in front of me, looking at me, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll have a couple of whiskeys. And that was the instant that I had that. You take a breath and you have that conversation internally. You go, well, yeah, that part of me really does want it, the instant gratification part. But the other part of me is saying, well, actually, you're going to feel shit, and you've got to be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow for a language class, right? So I made the decision in the moment not to do it based on having that conversation internally. So it's a very interesting model, and I think it's going to be groundbreaking. I think.
Yeah, although isn't that easier to say than to actually implement? Because there was something similar. I think it's even in one of the sugar books by Alan Carr, where it's talking about, and this gets talked about a lot, where you see the jam donut on the shelf and you think, oh, I really want to eat that donut, but then you've got to pause and think about it logically and think, okay, but is that really in alignment with my goals and stuff like that? But the problem that I have is that even if I do that, my will could be quite weak sometimes. So you just like, well, fuck it, I still want it anyway, and then you still go for it, So it works in theory on paper, but and I think it can. I suppose you just got to be very conscious about everything you do, haven't you, to make it really work for you.
They say actually that because this. I've been talking to this woman for 30 years, which completely corrects. It's so ingrained as a very strong voice. She says you've got to try and connect with the voice out of the situation. So not when the drink's in front of me, randomly say now off this call, connect with the voice that wants to do the impulsive stuff and ask it what the point of it is and realize it's on your side and blah, blah, blah. But she says, yeah, in the moment, it's incredibly hard to connect with the voices. You can't.
Yeah.
It's just going to override it, right? So it's got to be about the work done outside of that.
Well, that's interesting because that's my experience. Because and sometimes it does work. Like this morning I went to the gym. Like sometimes I'll be naughty and I'll grab like a pastry or something in the morning. Like most of the time I don't do it. Sometimes yeah, man. Well, you know, I know.
What's your go-to pastry?
Well, I quite like a pan of raisin or a cinnamon swirl.
They're pretty solid. Yeah.
Or even a.
I used to love. They're slightly different, but I used to love Cornish pasties.
Yeah, I like those as well. Yeah. So, and you know, so this morning I went to the gym and then I was coming back and there's pastry shops and stuff and I did do I was consciously thinking, well, I've just been to the gym, like what the fuck is like why am I going to do something that's going against my bigger goals? And I didn't, right? So sometimes it works, but other times, for whatever reason, sometimes if the will's just a little bit weak, and she's right, I think in the moment it's very, very hard. I can do it sometimes, but I can't do it all the time.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a process of training you. And what I like to do is this idea of this thing that Justin talks about, man creed. I can send you my one, but you basically write out like what you're striving for and you read it to yourself in the mirror every morning. And that all you've got to do is master the day. So I think as long as it's a gradual process of improving.
So it's like one day at a time, basically, right? This is what I'm aiming for. And then for that one, it's like the AA thing, isn't it? It's like for that one day, I've just got to remember these are my goals and staying alive.
Well, it's deeper than that. On the man creed, it's quite an emotional thing. So you read it out to yourself. And it's quite, his default one was really interesting. It was like, I'm the only one of my kind that's ever going to exist. My integrity and my respect to everything. You're reading this out almost as a performance yourself in the morning each day. And it really jigs you up to be like, fuck this. I'm going to smash this day. Because I agree with Webb Watson. I think our default goal should be self-mastery. All the ancients talked about it, right? Lao Tzu, all the original OGs, the philosophers, to conquer someone else's and mighty, to conquer yourself as true power, all of this stuff. I think self-mastery, thought, action, belief is the goal. And you feel like a fucking boss. If you're completely in control of this meat character that we're born into, this entity we have to play, and you can basically tell it to do stuff and it actually listens to you and does all that stuff, you feel really good. You feel completely in control and you have a certain presence to you because that's true power. I'm being able to dictate yourself to yourself the entire time. And obviously we're going to fuck that up. And for years, it was totally out of control, but I'm starting to regain that and kind of having that, reading that kind of miniature man creed thing in the morning to myself. You personalize it to whoever you are. It really helps because I'm like, right, my goal is mastery, self-mastery today. Over my thought, my belief. So when negative thoughts creep in, I go, no, what would the fucking alpha warrior version of me be thinking right now? Right. Do the alpha thing. Right. So it's just conquer one day at a time. It's a bit like the AA thing, but it's interesting. And that's all we have to do one day at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So One Trick Pony said, I'm not sure who this is, but he says, I would recommend.
I know who it is. It's Mr. A from Warsaw.
Ah, Mr. A, who's going back to Warsaw.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So he says, I would recommend. Hi, Mr. A, how are you? He's good to see you. He says, I would recommend anyone watching, lads, sign up to this course and head to Colombia. I did a course with the lads last month in Poland. I had a great experience in Warsaw. Good stuff, man.
Well, it'd be great as well if you could come out, Mr. A. I know we're rinsing your financial piggy bank with giving you stuff to leverage up on, but if you can also make it to Colombia, we can give you maybe a discounted training thing. I think you'd absolutely love being out there. I think you'd smash. It's a way easier than Warsaw to pull. Warsaw is a great place to train because you've got very hot feminine women. But if you want to just get laid with promiscuous, young, hot Colombians who worship foreigners, Bogotá is the place, bro. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It really is. So if you can finagle it in terms of getting a flight out there for the dates we're going to be there, we could talk about a further discounted amount on the 2797 thing. We'll include you in the edge for free anyway because you've done the Warsaw training and you're really investing in trying to level up. And I think the difference, no one knows who this guy is, so it's hard to give context, but we get a lot of guys who come on these things, right? And they kind of pay homage or lip service to, oh yeah, I'm going to level up. But you can just, there's a certain energy to them or a lack of intensity where you just think they're not going to do it. And myself, Troy, and Joe all said the same things actually about you, Mr. A, which is we got this feeling of like, fuck, he is actually in.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was really, we didn't expect it. But when you actually rolled up and we're sitting with you in person, there's just a certain vibe you give off of like, this is happening. And it's great to see because it's unusual. We get so many dudes who kind of cherry pick like bits here and bits there, but you're just like, no, fuck it, I'm all in. So, you know, kudos to you. So if you do want to, we'll include you in the Edge for free. And if you do want to come out to Bogotá, we can think about a further discount. Because I think I'm not going to stop you going to Warsaw with Joe. I think you should do that. It's good for you to spend time with him. He's a good coach for you. But I think you'll get so much bang for your buck if you get to Bogotá, because not only are you going to be around a cool group of guys, it's a really conducive environment to get laid, which is what most guys need to do when they get into this, just get some bangs under their belt. And it's a full house of coaches. Myself, Troy, Les, Mr. Bonaparte, the sex coach, Joe, and David Garcia, Mr. Flirt with the World. So it's going to be fucking phenomenal. So again, maybe something offline, but just planting the seed there, we could figure out a further discount on that. And even if you only train 2 sessions or 3 sessions there, just you basically come out and just meet people and have a good time in that environment. I think it will do you the world of good. So yeah, just my 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It'd be great to see you out there, as everybody else. So I'm just putting the link in the chat again. So just go to this page because it will give you some information about the course. I mean, obviously we've told you a lot of information already, but it's all summarised here on the course. If you want to join the Edge online only, it's just £797, and you get access to the online course. 8 weeks of us. You get drip-fed content every week, videos and exercises to complete, plus accountability on WhatsApp with myself and James and the team. And you also get access to the live webinars. We're doing like a bunch of probably bi-weekly webinars with experts in all of the things that we've talked about: hormone optimization, masculine dominance, the ability, the game stuff, the dark triad stuff, plus sexual confidence, which is really, really, really key with all of the experts. So it's, it's a great course just in itself if you just want to do online only. But if you want to come to the boot camp in Bogotá as well, which you should, then you get the Edge course free, the Edge online course free, and the cost of the boot camp is reduced to $2,797. But if you want to do that, you have to email us. So email troy@realtroyfrancis.com or info@jamestusk.com. So
agreed.
So we've been on for a while, but we've just been on over an hour actually. So Daniel Victor says, what are the advices you should give a guy in his 20s? Well, I said email me offline, man, and we can have a chat. But I mean, basically, you should join the Edge and you should come on the boot camp, because that will. I mean, but let's have a chat offline. I mean, it's a very broad question to say what advice you give a guy in his 20s. I mean, there's a lot of things I wish I'd known in my 20s, but I mean, if you're talking specifically about the dating stuff, then what you need to know, it's the same whether you're in your 20s or in your 60s, really. I mean, it's the stuff that we teach in the Edge, I would say. I mean, obviously, there's going to be differences depending on some stage of life, but
the quicker you learn this stuff, the better, because you're going to have to learn it at some stage, and you can put it off all you want. But the reality is, if you guys are watching our content, you're interested in what we're talking about, the stuff that we know that you want to know, the easiest way to do that, instead of piecing together thousands of videos where we kind of discuss it theoretically, is take the practical and actionable version that we've created of the Edge, where we put it into actionable terms. We download everything we know in our brains, or Cam's Razor it, make it as simple as possible, bite-sized chunks, and give you tasks to do. Way to learn stuff, rather than trying to piece together thousands of hours of our content online, wasting your most valuable assets, which are your energy, your time, and your attention, which are finite resources you never get back, when you can just pay money, and then we give you our we give you our knowledge, undivided attention, and we handhold you through that process based on everything we know. And
it's an ongoing relationship as well with most clients. It's an ongoing relationship with most clients as well. We have WhatsApp accountability with you, and we'll continue that after the course as well. We'll stay in touch, and we'll make sure that you're staying on track. Free Palestine says, is social media the way to go? with things the way things are now, I'm starting to think approaching in person is a massive waste of time. I think James is buffering a bit. So okay. So he's saying, well, is social media the way to go? He's starting to think cold approach is a waste of
time. How many cold approaches has he done?
Yeah, okay. Free Palestine 24. So how many approaches have you done?
Have you had feedback on it? You know, what do you look like? How many approaches you've done? How many numbers you got? Where are you approaching? All of these things, just saying, I think this. It's very blanket statements people make. And it seems to be one of the only things in the world, dating and cold approach, where guys will never even consider getting a coach. We'll try a few approaches and just go, oh, it doesn't work. And it's like, if you had that attitude to anything else, people would think you're crazy. That if someone goes, oh, you said, oh, I tried to learn Spanish. And they were like, oh, what'd you do? And you go, well, I opened up one video. And then I tried to speak to a Spanish person, but couldn't speak anything. So I just gave up. People be like, what? You didn't try and learn Spanish then? But for cold approach and dating, that seems to be what people do. And it's not considered weird. Yeah, it's fucking weird. You haven't done anything. So I'm not saying this time, but I'd like. How many women over the last month? Give me the stats. How many approaches? How many numbers? How many dates? How many lays? And then if you give us the stats, we can diagnose what's up.
Yes.
Also, where are you doing this? You know, what country, what city? How
well,
old
also,
are you?
He said they've taken my number, but I don't hear back most of the time. I mean,
you have no idea what you're up to then, because you should never give women your numbers. What are you, the woman? Do you want the? I mean, why are you giving your numbers to women? What weird thing to do.
Yeah, you should always be getting
burned. So it's fuck all. Because we say 20 to 30 per week, right? Every week, 80 at least a month for sustained periods of time until you understand how to approach, how to banter, how to flirt, how to tease, how to read body language, how to have a conversation. Clearly, you don't know how to do any of that, and clearly you're completely clueless because you're giving your number to women, which is a fucking disaster. What are you, a male celebrity? Are you Anthony Joshua post-fight, where you have the right to give your number to women and they're just going to line up and message you? Oh, shit, you must be Anthony Joshua. Why have you got Free Palestine as your name, Anthony Joshua?
So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, I mean, in saying all of that, I mean, yes, there probably is a place for social media as well, if he's talking about, you know, the sauteing type thing. But I mean, that is also incredibly, I mean, it's going to take you a long time to build up. It's not guaranteed. And if you don't understand the psychological stuff, you don't understand the game stuff, then it's probably going to fall flat anyway. Because even if you do get some girls out, you know, you post a load of video, you know, pictures of yourself in the club with girls, and then you get some girls out off the back of that. If you can't hold a fucking conversation with them, if you can't hold frame, etc., then it's going to be a disaster anyway. Another dating coach said it's better to give your number to the woman. No, it's not. It's not. Dark Arts 59 says, are most of the guys on the boot camps British? No. It's a mixture of different nationalities. I mean, you get quite a lot of American guys, some British, Europeans. I mean, it's a whole mixture of people.
Yes, some of them are, but maybe at a boot camp, say 8 guys, maybe 2 or 3 might be British, but from all over Germany, US, Australia, typically Anglosphere places, but a real mixed bag. Americans, lots of Americans.
Yeah.
Your mate David Thorpe gives girls his number. We're not actually in touch anymore. We didn't fall out personally, although we don't speak anymore, but we parted ways professionally. I don't agree with that. I think unless you're a male celebrity, right, it's just not going to work. It's the man's job to do everything. I hate to say it, but you're the masculine energy, right? What's the masculine energy? Penetrative, direct, right? Controlling, dominant force. You see the girl, you approach the girl, you make it happen. You be the emotional leader. You get the girl excited. You take the girl's number. You message the girl. You send the Uber to pick up the girl. You take the girl to a venue you choose. You buy the drink. You seduce the girl. you physically enter the girl and give her your seed, and probably she doesn't have kids because you're not looking to have a kid, but that's the process. That's the male energy. It's direct, it's penetrative. The female energy, right, the feminine, is receptive. That's how life works. Unless you want to be dating masculine women, which most men do not want to be dating, do not give your number to women. Take her number. It's your job to lead everything from start to finish. That's your job as a man, so embrace it.
Yeah, indeed. I'm a British South Asian, so I'm assuming race makes a difference. Well, I mean, yeah, to some extent, but it's more. I mean, not really. I mean, it's more about your vibe and how you present. I mean, to be honest, I mean, you can be South Asian and be an absolute rock star with dating, or you can be a complete flannel. You know, I've seen both, so it's case by case. If you want to really get answers on this stuff, man, you have to get in touch with us, and we have to, you know, because we don't know what you look like, we don't even know where you live. I don't think at the moment we don't know anything about you really, so it's very hard to, you know, to give a diagnosis for these things just over the internet. But if you email us info@jamestusk.com or troy@realtroyfrancis.com, then we can, you know, help further with some of this stuff. So this is a good one for you, Joe. You can answer this one, James. I'm just going to go to the loo. How long do you think one could stay in the game living the player lifestyle? James, do you plan to keep on playing the game in your 40s, or do you plan on getting a serious girlfriend like Troy anytime soon?
I don't know. I don't overthink it. I just see it as it comes. I think the key is you're out enjoying your life and you're on your mission, right? And you're still meeting people as you travel. That's what I do. And I've seen girls for periods of time, but it hasn't been super serious. But if I meet someone and I do want a family one day, if I meet someone and it's right, then I'll make something happen. I'm not avoiding the idea of a relationship, but the lifestyle I live, where I constantly travel, it's very hard to meet people that can live that lifestyle. So until my lifestyle changes, probably I won't be having a long-term relationship, but never say never. I'm not against it. I'm not against the idea of being with someone for a substantial period of time and seeing how it plays out. And I've dated women for large periods of time. The longest was 7 years. Which ended about 4 years ago. So yeah, we'll see how the cookie crumbles, as they say, but there's no pressure either way. I think that's a key thing. I think a lot of guys pressure themselves, like they need to find a girlfriend, they need to find a relationship. The more you pressure something, the more you need it, the more the universe takes it away. So being open, being curious, seeing if you vibe with people, no attachment to outcome, that's the way to be. That's the way to live your life. Out of interest, Jazian, how old are you and what's your situation with dating and relationships? Tusk, good to see you. Hope life is treating you well. I haven't been blown up by a rocket yet in Ukraine, so that's good. And Ukraine is an awesome place to be. For those of you who are wondering what it's like to be here, there are a few rockets every few days, but reality is, as I've said before, I'm more likely to start being hit by a bus or drinking too much than I am being hit by a rocket. So should we make like I never do and wrap this up?
Yes, indeed. There's a couple of very quick questions. How to apply outcome-independent mindset. I mean, it's a massive question, man. It could be a lifetime's work.
Get in touch with all of these things. If you're not prepared to sign up to the EdgeX, you don't really know enough about it. Send Troy an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Include your WhatsApp number. Or send me an email, info@jamestusk.com, and maybe we can answer some of these questions offline.
Yeah, because if we've got no context, we know fucking nothing about you at all, then it's very hard to answer some of these questions.
These questions strike me as people that are clueless in life, to be honest. No disrespect to guys asking these questions, but they're just very unspecific, random questions that make me just think, right, the rest of his life is a mess if he can't even articulate properly a question that is reasonable to answer on a free live stream over 10 seconds.
Where we've got no context about you and know nothing about you at all.
Yeah.
So, and this is another one really, well, kind of, I mean, it's not really maybe. Chris Dormer, Respecter, says, I'm new to game cold approach. I keep fumbling baddies. Does it get better? Yes.
Yeah, well, if you know what you're fucking doing, get in touch, get some feedback for fuck's sake. Yeah. Get a coach. Any skill set I ever wanted to learn, what do? I get a coach because they 10x the speed at which I learn the skill set. So I'm not in fucking beginner's hell the whole time. It's awful to try and do something and repeatedly year after year not get any further in. That's a horrible feeling, and that's what most men wallow in with cold approach. Fucking awful, right? No wonder people quit. But again, get a coach.
Yeah. I mean, it does get better, but you need to be doing the right things. So if you're not doing the right things, it may not get any better, to be honest, or it might. But I mean, the quickest way is to get a coach, to get mentorship. Thoughts on Rich Coker's content? I don't watch it. I don't really watch it, to be honest.
I used to watch some of his content. He's got some good ideas. He's a masculine guy, like his mindset to stuff. Being a bit tougher, raising his standards. I think it's good content. He's also obviously smashed it in business, so I think he's definitely a voice to be listened to in that regard. I think his lady nights are a bit of a car crash. I think he's just ripped off Fresh and Fit, but he's doing a serious version of it where it just doesn't really work. And I wouldn't necessarily buy his game advice because there's no proof of him going out and smashing hot girls, right? But that's not to discredit a large part of his content, which is motivational, masculine mindset, getting after it in life and business. I think it's great. But I don't agree with some of the stuff he does. But I think some of the stuff he does is very good. But again, like everything, you should be watching this content to motivate you to get out of the house. Even with our stuff, I don't give a fuck if you never watch my content again or Troy's. As if it makes you get out of the house and you actually go and find a girlfriend, I'd much prefer to get an email or a message going, "Hey James, I watched some of your content, never got in touch, but I just want to thank you because I've now got a hot girlfriend because I cold approach and you taught me some shit from you putting out videos." That's way more satisfying on a deeper level to me than guys just watching my content for years on end, coming up to me in the street and going, Tusk, I really like your content. I'm like, cool, man. How long have you been watching it? They're like, 2 years. And I'm like, cool. How's the dating life? They're like, well, I haven't done my first cold approach yet. I'm like, for fuck's sake. That wasn't the point of the content. The point was to motivate your asses to take the action by yourselves. And if you can't, then use us as coaches via the Edge or a different course we offer, some live training, so we can kick you into the process of becoming self-sufficient men to fucking get after it and achieve what you want in the dating sphere. That's the point. We want you to go from open to finish as quickly as possible. We don't want you hanging around in some weird group communities with us. And that's why we don't do any of this paid like YouTube shit, or we don't have really group communities outside of this that are paid, because it's all just mind wank. It's all just circle jerking theory. We want you to take fucking action. And that was always my motto. And it was always Troy's motto. Unless I'd done 30 approaches in the week, I wasn't allowed to do any theory. Right. And now it's 98% wanking via over online content, 1% wanking over fucking Pornhub, and 1% action, which involves usually a guy walking out of the house saying hello to one girl a week and then just going, "Oh, cold approach doesn't work." It shouldn't be like that, gents. Get after it. You want something, you've got to go and get it in life. You've got to be, as Troy said earlier, the only thing, it's all avoidance. The only thing is doing the thing, which is speaking to hot women consistently when you see them in your life. And if you don't live in a place where there are hot women, you need to go to a place where there's hot women. That's it. That can all be settled with that. The few guys that actually listened to me and Les when we talked about 30 a week and actually did that, there was about 5 guys who actually applied that voice. They have now rockstar dating lives. They're the only dudes that listened to it, and they didn't need any coaching. They just did it. And you're playing the numbers game and the skill game then to level up. But unless you're doing that 20 to 30 approaches a week, you're not playing the game even.
So Richie Rich says, definitely feel sympathise with guys feeling the need to settle down. I've been out of the game for a year with a girl in an LTR, but I'm thinking about getting back into the game daily. Tough one. Well, I don't think anyone should ever feel any pressure to settle down. I think that's just you're sort of just buying into societal nonsense if you feel pressured to. I mean, we get guys who are like, "Oh, I'm coming up to 30. Is it over?" We're like, I need to get a girlfriend. But all my friends get, I think if you're bowing to that stuff, that's not a great. You need to escape the matrix a bit. Can you escape the matrix a bit? Probably not. You need to escape the matrix.
Yeah.
You need to disassociate from these societal ideas. Oh, you should be settled down by now. You should be doing the right thing or whatever. All of that's nonsense. You've got to think about what you want.
It takes a lot of balls to do it, and it's very hard because most of the people. Okay, when it comes back. Yeah, so it is hard to disconnect from the matrix because if I look at my own life, everyone apart from me, friends, close friends, family, not dating, arena friends, but not the old school friends from back in the day before I got into this or family, they're all in this. They just don't understand. There's no level of consciousness past like, you know, get up, go to work, go home, feed the kids. It's just their life. So it is hard to disconnect because you're going to constantly, because you've got ties to your older life, you're going to get sucked back in. And people will really judge. I get massively judged every time I go meet up with, you know, acquaintances or old friends or friends of the family, or people really judge me as a person. But you have to be strong enough to carve your own path in life and realize, fuck it. It's my reality. It's my rules. I don't give a fuck.
Or or you have to be ruthless and cut off the people that are holding you back, you know?
Yeah, cut them off. It doesn't matter. Even family, if they're really against what you do, just get rid of them. I know it sounds intense and harsh, but you've got to live your own life. You have a certain number of heartbeats and breaths, and that's it, right? It's got to be every day pushing towards what you want to create your version of your ideal reality, and everything else is fluff.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, on that note, join the Edge, basically. So the Edge version 4 is out now. Go to the page below. It'll give you all the information you need on the course. It's an 8-week course online. You can do online only, where we'll be, you know, doing webinars twice a week with a bunch of experts on all aspects of masculinity, from hormonal optimization to masculine dominance to ridding yourself of sexual shame. Myself and James will be talking all about the dark triad stuff and the sort of darker side of game and psychology. It's going to teach you everything you need to know. You should also come with us to Bogotá, Colombia in October as part of the course as well. You can, if you want to just join
through.
Yeah,
it's about halfway through. So we do 4 weeks of the Edge with all the webinars with the experts and giving you game tasks. Then you come to Bogotá, have an amazing time. It's the full squad of coaches, and it'll be a really cool group of guys, like 8 to 10 guys. Bogotá's an awesome place. We know it very well. Day game, night game, everything, anything goes. It's going to be a real party, but you're going to be learning there. It's going to be valuetainment. And then when you ride that wave, when you go back to where you live, because you've got all the momentum you've generated from doing 200 approaches, say, over a weekend in Bogotá, and then me and Troy are going to continue to run the webinars and hold you accountable, so you actually make the most of this and make it actionable. This is the best thing we've ever come up with in terms of practical application of everything we know to get you guys to where you want to get to with dating. So there's nothing else to be said apart from sign up. It really, if you vibe with our stuff, it's not but breaking the bank to pay £797 for the course. And if it is, you've got bigger problems to worry about than game. You've got to sort your money out, not for women, for yourself, right? So that's it.
Yes, indeed. So sign up. And if you've got any questions, or if you want to come to Bogotá as well, you'll need to email us. So I put the email addresses in the chat, but it's basically info@jamestusk.com or troy@realtroyfrancis.com. So basically, if you've got any questions at all, or you're curious about this, you want to know more, just email us and we can help you out further.
Yes.
Put in your WhatsApp. Give us your WhatsApp details as well when you do, and then we can get on a call with you.
Yeah, don't just do the usual thing of sending an email going, hello, full stop. It's just like, what can we do with that? It boggles my mind that guys watch this. They go like, okay, yeah, I want to get in touch with James and Troy. And they just send an email that doesn't say or do anything. And then we're going, who the fuck is this that's emailed us? Bogotá or the Edge 4. I'm interested. Here's my WhatsApp. Let's discuss, right? Put that. And we can actually get in touch and have a chat. And if it's not a good fit because you can't afford it, or you just got in touch because you wanted to ask some other questions, fine, right? But just make it easy. Make the process easy. Because if you can't even send us an email to guys that want to help you, how the fuck are you going to pull a hot woman, right? You can't even tie your shoelaces, really, because you can't even send an email. So how do you expect to be banging top-tier women, right? So, guys, and again, with these comments as well, a lot of, some nice comments here, thank you. Some well-articulated questions, but a lot of them are just mundane, inarticulate, unspecific kind of questions. It's like, if that's how how you do one thing is how you do everything. If that's how you're living your life outside of this, there's some big things to fix. Yeah, indeed. Good stuff. All right. Well, pleasure as always. So we are back, I think, probably tomorrow with another one of these. So look out for that. And any information that you guys want, just email us, as we've said. We'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.